The most famous psychology chart on the internet, the one where confidence rockets up to Mount Stupid, then crashes into a valley of despair, was never in the Dunning-Kruger study at all. Someone made it up, and millions of people have spent years quoting a graph the researchers never actually drew. So today I'm doing something risky for a self-improvement channel. I'm going to tell you your favorite confidence meme is mostly wrong. But stay with me, because the real Dunning-Kruger effect is quieter, weirder, and honestly a lot scarier. Effect is quieter, weirder, and honestly a lot scarier than the cartoon version. By the end, you'll know exactly why the least skilled people are so often the loudest, and the one move that keeps you from becoming one of them. In 1995, a man named McArthur Wheeler walked into two Pittsburgh banks in broad daylight and robbed them without a mask. He wasn't even hiding, because he was completely convinced that he was invisible to the security cameras. His reasoning went like this: lemon juice can be used as invisible ink, so he rubbed lemon juice on his face and assumed it would hide him from film too. He was arrested that same night after the footage aired on the news, and he was genuinely stunned that anyone could see him. A psychologist at Cornell named David Dunning read the story in the paper and could not stop thinking about it. Wheeler wasn't just bad at robbing banks. He was too unskilled to realize how unskilled he actually was. Dunning had a hunch that this wasn't a one-off clown, but a pattern quietly hiding inside all of us. So he teamed up with a graduate student named Justin Kruger to actually test it. That hunch became one of the most cited papers in all of modern psychology, and also one of the most misunderstood. In 1999, Kruger and Dunning published a paper with a brutally honest title, Unskilled and Unaware of It. They ran Cornell undergraduates through tests of humor, logical reasoning, and English grammar. After each test, they asked one simple question: how do you think you did compared to everybody else? The people who scored in the bottom quartile, the actual worst performers, guessed they were slightly above average. On the logic test, bottom scorers landed around the 12th percentile but rated themselves near the 62nd. That is a gap of roughly 50 points between how good they were and how good they believed they were. On the humor test, the worst performers overestimated their own rank by about 46 percentile points. Read that again? The people who were worst at judging what's funny were the most sure they had nailed it. Now here's the twist that most videos completely skip. The top performers made the exact opposite mistake. The best scorers actually underestimated how well they had done compared to others, not because they lacked confidence, but because the task felt easy to them. So they assumed the task felt easy for everyone. Psychologists call that the false consensus effect, and it's why genuine experts often assume they're nothing special. Dunning and Kruger's explanation is the part actually worth tattooing on your brain. The exact skills you need to be good at something are the same skills you need to know whether you're good at it. If you're bad at grammar, you can't catch your own grammar mistakes, because catching them requires the grammar you don't have. They called it a double curse. Incompetence quietly hides itself. It's not that unskilled people are lying about their ability. It's that they're missing the very instrument that would measure it. Think of it like being tone deaf and trying to judge whether you're singing in key. The tool you'd use to catch the mistake is the same tool that's broken. This is why a total beginner can feel unstoppable, while a real expert quietly doubts themselves. The beginner doesn't yet know what they don't know. The expert has finally seen how deep the water actually goes. And that gap, the space between how it feels and what's real, is exactly where bad decisions get made. Now let's talk about that chart, the one you have absolutely seen before. You know the one, a line that shoots up to a peak labeled Mount Stupid, plunges into a valley of despair, then slowly climbs a slope of enlightenment. It looks scientific, it gets posted in every meeting, and it just feels true. There's only one problem with it. That curve appears absolutely nowhere in Kruger and Dunning's actual paper. They never drew it, they never named a Mount Stupid, and their real data doesn't even have that shape. The famous chart is a folk diagram that got invented online in the 2000s and slowly glued onto their names. The real data was never a roller coaster of one person's journey over time. It's a snapshot comparing different people at a single moment, beginners standing next to experts. And the actual pattern is a gentle, almost boring shift. As real skill climbs, self-estimates line up a little better with reality. No dramatic peak, no cliff, no valley of despair. So the next time somebody proudly shows you Mount Stupid, you can just smile, because now you know it's fan fiction. Okay, but here's where I have to be really honest with you, because this is the uncomfortable part. Some statisticians think the classic Dunning-Kruger pattern might be partly an illusion baked into the math itself. In 2016 and 2017, a researcher named Edward Neufer and his colleagues ran a wild experiment. They generated pure random numbers, completely fake data with no real skill or self-awareness inside it at all? And when they plotted that random noise the same way Dunning and Kruger did, a Dunning-Kruger looking pattern appeared anyway. Then in 2020, researchers Gilles Gignac and Marcin Zajankowski published a paper with a blunt conclusion. They argued the effect is, in their own words, mostly a statistical artifact. Two boring math gremlins can fake almost the whole thing. The first is regression to the mean extreme scores naturally drift back toward average when you measure again. The second is the better than average effect. Almost everyone, skilled or not, tends to rate themselves a touch above the middle. Stack those two together, and you can manufacture a Dunning-Kruger curve out of nothing but noise. Now, that does not mean Dunning and Kruger were frauds or that they lied about anything. It means the way the classic study charted its data may have made the effect look cleaner than it really is. And a self-improvement channel that respects you has to be willing to say that out loud. So is the whole thing garbage then? No, and this is the important part. Even the critics agree on the uncomfortable core. Humans are genuinely bad at judging their own ability, especially at the bottom of the skill range. Dunning has pointed out that people's self-misjudgments are real, no matter what's driving the shape of the graph. Study after study finds that poor performers, measured against hard objective benchmarks, really don't see their own gaps. You'll find it in doctors, in drivers, in investors, and in students. In some research, the least knowledgeable people were also the most resistant to the feedback that could have fixed them. The meme chart is fake, but the human blind spot sitting underneath it is very, very real. You do not get a warning light when you're incompetent. Incompetence feels exactly like competence from the inside. That's the scary version of this story, and it also happens to be the true one. So how do you protect yourself when your own confidence is an unreliable gauge? Rule 1. Stop treating the feeling of certainty as proof that you're actually right. Certainty is an emotion, not a measurement. Rule 2. Chase objective feedback instead of applause. A score, a benchmark, a blunt mentor, or a real result will tell you what your gut simply never can. Rule 3. Get specific about what you actually don't know yet. The moment you can name the edges of your own knowledge, you've already stepped off Mount Stupid. Rule 4. When you're a beginner, expect the confidence spike and then distrust it on purpose. And when you finally start feeling like an imposter, take it as a signal that you can now see the real terrain. That doubt isn't weakness, it's the view from higher up the mountain. Dunning himself basically said, the first move is to assume you might be one of the people who doesn't know. Not to feel bad about it, but to stay curious enough to go and check. The strongest people I know are almost never the loudest ones in the room. They're the ones quietly asking, okay, what am I missing here? Because skill doesn't just make you better at the task in front of you. It slowly hands you the eyes to see how good you actually are. So build the skill first, and accurate confidence shows up later as a side effect. Real confidence isn't loud, it's earned, and it's calibrated to the truth. That is the version genuinely worth chasing. Not the peak of Mount Stupid, but the quiet certainty of someone who has actually done the work. So drop the meme chart, keep the humility, and go chase feedback instead of applause. I'm Atlas, and if this rewired how you see your own confidence, subscribe to Mindset Mechanics, because we bust the myths and keep only the parts that actually make you sharper.